But for parenthood, it's the same. I can't take away the experiences my children are having or the things that they have to encounter on their own in order to help them grow. I can't protect them from everything. And even when I can protect them from certain things, I have to make that decision not to, because I have to let them experience it, figure it out, problem solve, work through their emotions, and kind of just stand by their side while they're doing that. And that's one of the most painful things. Welcome back to Rawness Without Hesitation, which is brought to you by Kay's Choices Co., a mental health clothing line that would like to help others find comfort and confidence in making their mental health a priority. So last week I was able to have my husband on as my first guest star, and we were able to cover quite a lot in regards to mental health, not so much marriage. So if you didn't get to listen in on that episode, be sure to go back and hear what he has to say in regards to his experience. It's quite different than mine, actually, so it was interesting. This week, I would like to talk about something I realized this week in regards to my children growing up. So my children are preteen years, and I have one in elementary school still. And since as long as I could possibly remember, every birthday, or when it got close to their birthdays, I literally would go into a mini depression. And it was so hard because I don't want them to grow up. And of course, I want them to stay small forever, like many parents. However, at the same time, it was so beautiful to see them like growing into their own little beings, you know, their own thoughts, their own opinions and beliefs. I guess maybe not so much beliefs just yet, but it was really cute, and it was so sweet to see them growing into these different beings. And so at the same time, I would be so sad that I had no control over the time and how quickly it would pass. And I'm literally about to tear up right now. Oh my goodness. Okay. The thing I realized this week, though, is that your kids growing up, of course, is always going to be bittersweet. Every parent is going to be happy that maybe their parenting years are coming to an end. You know, I don't fault parents for feeling that way. Being a parent is exhausting. Always worth it, but definitely exhausting. So I think we deserve to be excited that exhaustion might die down a little bit. At the same time, we don't want our children to grow up. We want them to be babies forever. So it's like that bittersweet, it's just a bittersweet thing that comes with parenting. But I feel like there are 3 different things that can happen in this process. Sometimes this creates a happy place in your mental health. So you're able to kind of find a silver lining. So it's like, my girls had their first school dance without me there. So I've always like chaperoned or not chaperoned, volunteered and whatnot. Or they were family dances. So we always got to go, but this was their first real one. And so I expected myself to have like a super breakdown. I was just like, I'm going to be so emotional. I don't know how I'm going to stand it. Like, I want them to go have so much fun, but I'm also so sad that they're going into this next like stage of life. But the silver lining was, one, I didn't need to go volunteer. I didn't have to be at the school. It wasn't an obligation of mine. It was nice to be able to drop them off at school and let them go have fun on their own. And at the same time, it was so nice to hear them come home and tell us the stories of what they had experienced at the dance without me being there, because of course, if I'm there, I get to experience all the same things as them, but I don't get to hear their perspective because I already had my own perspective. So now they got to come home and I got to see things through their eyes instead of through my own. So that was definitely a good thing. It was a happy place for my mental health when I came to realize all those little silver linings of them being able to take this big step on their own. And to others, that might not be a big step. It's like, so what? They went to a dance. But to me, in my life, in my world, it was a huge step. Another I guess, kind of category that I've found happens when I come to the realization of my children growing so quickly, of course, is like a sad spiral because, again, choking up a little bit here. It's always been, if this is not only a struggle with my children, it's just a struggle in general, like not having control over things that happen in the world. And I know I just used the word control, but I don't think it's necessarily a control issue, because what I mean by that is I can't stop time. I can't slow down time. I can't recreate a moment to be exactly what it was the first time that it happened. And all of that is like really makes me sad, because I'm just like, wow, I would give anything to have that moment again with my kids, or with whoever it is in that moment, but particularly my children, this episode. But I think a lot of people can relate to that in general. And then just a piece of what else I mean in that category is that things that happen in the world generally, it's really hard to know that I don't have control over like taking away that pain that somebody else is feeling, or that negative experience that someone else is having. That's the control I'm talking about. I can't stop it for them. I can't change it for them. And I can't take away their sadness for them. So all of those things are the things I'm talking about in regards to control. But for parenthood, it's the same. I can't take away the experiences my children are having, or the things that they have to encounter, on their own in order to help them grow. I can't protect them from everything. And even when I can protect them from certain things, I have to make that decision not to, because I have to let them experience it, figure it out, problem solve, work through their emotions, and kind of just stand by their side while they're doing that. And that's one of the most painful things, because nobody wants to watch their child go through pain, especially if they're in control of taking it away from their child. I can take away that pain for you right now. I can deal with it. But if I do that, I'm not helping them grow. I'm not helping them and preparing them for their future. I'm just continuing to put them in the bubble that I wish I could have them in forever. So the silver linings in them growing up can be a positive thing for my mental health, because it really helps me obviously see the positive side of things and realize that this could be beneficial both to me and to them. And I'm literally talking about them growing up. Them growing up could be beneficial to me and my time and my sanity, but at the same time, it is a positive thing for them, because it allows for them to have their own experiences in the world, right? And the sad part of it is the fact that I can't stop it. And I have to watch them go through all this pain. And I have to watch them, not just pain, but different experiences of confusion and fear and, all these different parts of life. And the third part is that it's kind of scary, right? Like, so it's not only sadness and it's not only happiness. There's also a little bit of fear there, because it's scary to think about your children going through maybe some of the things that you've gone through, which of course everybody is different. Every life is different. Everybody has their own journey. But some of the things I went through as a teenager, I'm kind of like, whoa. I do not need my children being spoken to like that, or having to deal with these different situations on their own. And for me, it's like, I feel like my parents weren't involved in my life enough for them to help me through different things that I went through. And I'm talking about super basic things like being in high school and being bullied, or becoming a bully, because both happened to me. And being spoken to by other teenagers or adults in very inappropriate ways. And I mean like sexually inappropriate, like it's not okay. And me in my teenage life was like, I can handle it. I'm good. Like I know how to deal with this situation, but I also wish that I didn't have to deal with those situations. And so I know that things that my children come across in the world, I don't have control over. And again, they need to create their own experiences and work through these things. But I also just wish, like, gosh, if I could keep them in that bubble just, until they're 25, then they will be old enough to go out and experience these things and deal with them. But our children being the ages that they are, and the way that the world is working at the moment, the generations, everything changing so quickly. They've already experienced some things that are very uncomfortable for me to discuss with them, but I do it, and I do it with a straight face, because that's what I feel like they need. Like, that's how they would benefit the most, is being able to have these open conversations and me not react so strongly until afterwards, when I'm in behind closed doors and I'm just like, okay, let me cry it out, or let me like express my frustration to my husband, or whatever the case is, just as long as my children feel comfortable still bringing things to my attention and feel like I'm not going to overreact. So them dealing with all of these things, or just generally moving out one day, literally sleeping under another roof that you're not under for an extended amount of time, like not just 1 or 2 nights at the grandparents' house or something, but like, what if somebody breaks in? What if they get a stalker? What if, their car breaks down somewhere and I'm too far to get to them? Or what if, I don't know, all these different scenarios, because my brain can go forever overthinking. All of these things scare me. They scare me. And it's like, that's probably like the only thing that I can genuinely say always scares me. I don't understand how not to be scared about that. Like, I wish that somebody could just shut me up and take it all away. But no matter what anybody says or does or tries to talk to me about in order to help me get through this situation, it doesn't matter. I'm always still scared. And so those are the 3 different, like, I want to say categories of emotions that I go through when I really think about my children growing up, or like when they're just sharing something about their day and they sound so adult like. I'm like, what is this? Where did you learn that word? How do you know what that word means? How are you having this conversation with me? Like, I want to feel like I'm speaking to a child, not like I'm feeling, or I'm sorry, not even just a child, but my child. I want to feel like I'm speaking to my child. I don't want to feel like I'm speaking to a friend or another adult. And sometimes I do, because they're so mature, or they're growing quickly, or, they're just being their little selves. And it is definitely something that I have to continue trying to get comfortable with, because it's only going to become that way more and more. They're going to get smarter. They're going to have more experiences and gain more knowledge. They're going to start speaking more and more maturely, and with the words they use, as well as the topics that we're discussing. And so sometimes that's also a happy thing. I'm like, wow, how beautiful to see these little babies growing into their own humans, and kind of shocking me with the way that they're able to communicate with me as well. So I don't know. That's definitely a happy place for me as well. Just kind of like being proud of who they're becoming. And then, of course, being sad that I can't stop them from growing. And then also being scared of what they're going to be dealing with along the way. All of these things I think are very natural when it comes to parenting and trying to raise a family, or maybe not parenting in general. Maybe not just parenting. It could also be like, say for my little sisters, I felt that way for a long time. So it could be a sibling relationship. It could be a friend relationship. It could be an aunt and their nieces or nephews, like any type of relation with somebody that you're watching growing up, and that you love and care for. All of these emotions might come with it. But you have to remember that when the negative ones come, like sadness and fear, it can be a little bit more difficult to keep your mental health right if you drown yourself in those topics the way that I do. When I begin thinking about all the things I'm scared of for my kids, or when I get sad that I can't slow it down, I spiral. Like, I'll spiral deep. And I have control over that, because it's literally just my own thoughts and feelings. Like, I am against these thoughts and feelings, and they're trying to bring me down, and I'm trying to like stay above water, right? So for me, it's vital to acknowledge and like be aware of the fact that these emotions are coming in strong, and then it's my job to turn around and replace them with those silver linings, or with those happy like thoughts instead, because I want to have a nice, healthy mental health, and I don't want to When I say spiral, I mean like I'll get so caught up with that emotion and then it drains me physically, because emotional, mental, and physical health are all tied in with each other, right? So emotionally, I'll get so overworked that it shuts down my brain, like mentally. I can't think. It's exhausting. I'm overwhelmed now because I just drained myself emotionally so much. Mentally, now I'm frozen, and physically, my body is not going to do anything. I'm going to sit in bed. I'm not going to shower. I might eat, maybe, but I'm probably just going to sleep a lot, because now I'm so worked that my body needs that rest. And it basically takes away time, takes away a whole day or 2 days, not only from me and my life, but from my children's life and my family's life also, all because I allowed these emotions to kind of take over. So there is a time with different situations where sitting and feeling all of your negative emotions in different situations is healthy and it's necessary. However, for me, in these situations, just thinking about things that are out of my control and allowing them to make me sad, or make me scared, I definitely need to stray away from those as soon as I start noticing it. So I hope that if there are some more parents out there, or aunts and uncles, like I said, or older siblings, or whatever your relationship is with somebody, that if you find yourself also kind of drowning in those emotions the way that I do, which I personally don't think is very common. I don't think a lot of people actually spiral, but if you do, just know that I do too. And it's something that I'm working on as well. And I would love for you to be able to reach out to me if you needed somebody to talk to or relate to. You can always use the email inquiries down below. You'll find them listed at the end of this episode. It's only one email. I don't know why I'm saying multiple. And I'd be more than happy to talk it out with you, because it isn't easy and we all deal with things differently. And I just want you to know that if you are dealing with something like that, that there is somebody else who can relate. And if you're not dealing with something like that, just know that there are people who are dealing with it, because sometimes we don't find ourselves, but we can be insensitive. I was going to say we can find ourselves being insensitive, but that isn't something that we necessarily notice when we're being insensitive. So I know a couple of people who never can relate to like my emotions, and that's okay because we're all different, but they sometimes come off insensitive to me. And so I'm saying this because I think that it's okay if you're not 100% aware 24/7 of the emotions of somebody else, because that's exhausting also. And there's no possible way that you could pay attention to every single person's emotional and mental health. But just know that sometimes other people are dealing with things like this when you're kind of like, oh gosh, I can't wait for my kids to grow up. And then they're like over here stressing about their kids, growing up. Like that, it does exist. Other people do spiral in these emotions, and that's okay too. Just know it exists. That's all, because you might be surprised. There might be someone close in your life who deals with things like that, and you just never had any idea. So I don't know if this would allow for you to be more aware of that person, or like identify that someone else is dealing with that. For instance, just me going ahead and expressing in this episode doesn't mean that my friend is going to now know to be more sensitive with me. That's not the message that I'm relaying. It's just knowledge. This is literally knowledge, like listening to a book, reading a book. Now you know that other people deal with things differently in this category than you do. And you get to take that knowledge moving forward, and maybe you'll meet somebody, or maybe someone will express to you one day that it's something that they deal with, that spiral, and they're really trying to stay out of that spiral, because really it's a little mini depression is what I like to call it for myself. And you might not understand why they got there, and maybe this will help you know that they got there. So I'm not asking you to make any changes or try to relate to other people. No, I just am sharing my own experiences, and I hope that you either gained knowledge from this or you realized that you can relate to it and you're not on your own either. Because at the end of the day, that's what these episodes are about. That's what these podcasts are about. In order for you to be able to relate and realize new ways for you to work on having a healthier mental health, and to find things that you realize you're not alone in. So I hope that that's working for you somehow in this episode as well. And thank you for joining me again this week on Rawness Without Hesitation, which again is sponsored by Kay's Choices Co. Don't forget to subscribe to the email list that is listed below, and you can also go ahead and find it on the website. You can find the social media channels below as well, along with the website that you can use your promo codes on. And I look forward to having you here again next week.